Hello. Now let us go through this question taken from the March 2022 IGCSE paper 4. So let us start with question 1A1. State the name of the gas exchange surface in human. So the command word for this question is state. So you just need to give the name. So the name of the gas exchange surface in human is alveoli. So you can give your answer as alveoli or alveolus. But if you were to write your answer as lungs, then it is too general and will not be accepted. Okay, next, let us look at question number A2. State two features of the gas exchange surface in human. Now you can see that the command word here is still the term state. So you just need to give the features, right? And the term two is being bold here, which means that you only need to give two features. Only the first two features stated will be marked. So there's no point writing more than two in your answer. So what are the two features of the gas exchange surface in human? Now, gas exchange occurs through diffusion. So therefore, the gas exchange surface will have features that allow the rate of diffusion to occur as high as possible. So this would include having a large surface area. Large surface area. So there are numerous alveoli in the lungs, and these provide large surface area for gas exchange to occur as fast as possible. Okay, number two, you can mention about thin surface. The gas exchange surface is thin, or you can say that it has a thin wall. This is important because it provides a shorter or a short diffusion distance or a short diffusion pathway so that diffusion can occur as fast as possible. So instead of writing thin surface, you may also give your answer as short diffusion distance. But they mean the same thing: thin surface, thin wall, or short diffusion distance. Now, apart from these 2 points, now other points that you can mention include good blood supply. The alveoli are surrounded by a rich network of capillaries, which provide a good blood supply. So once oxygen diffuses into blood, these oxygen will be carried away by the blood to other parts of the body. This ensures that there is always a lower concentration or lower partial pressure of oxygen in the blood compared to the alveoli. So this will ensure that there is always a steep concentration gradient between the alveoli and the blood. And apart from this, another possible answer that could be accepted will be that the alveoli are well ventilated with air. Well ventilated with air. There's good ventilation with air. So there are a lot of air being taken into the alveoli, and these inspired air contain a high concentration of oxygen compared to the blood. So there is always a steep concentration gradient of oxygen between the alveoli and the blood. The same goes to carbon dioxide. There is a lower concentration of carbon dioxide in the inspired air compared to the blood. Okay, next, let us look at part B. Figure 1.1 is a diagram of the gas exchange system in human. Now, let's look at the question. So, question B1. Draw a label line and the letter X on figure 1.1 to identify an external intercostal muscle. The intercostal muscle refers to the muscle that is found between the rib bones. And there are two types of intercostal muscle, the internal intercostal muscle and the external intercostal muscle. So where exactly is the rib bone? So for example, this is a rib bone, right? So here there are many rib bones. So this is also a rib bone. The muscle between two rib bones is the intercostal muscle. This and this are both intercostal muscle. However, the intercostal muscle facing or closer to the lung is known as the internal intercostal muscle, while the one which is further away from the lung is known as the external intercostal muscle. So between the two, it is this one that is the external intercostal muscle. And therefore, according to the question, it says label with the letter X. So let's label with the letter X. Remember, when you want to draw a labeling line, make sure that the labeling line touches the structure that you intend to show. Now, let us look at question B2. State the name of the tissue that forms C-shaped structures in the wall of the trachea and state its function. Now, there are two parts to this question. The first part is to state the name of the tissue, and the second part is to state the function. Now, since the command word being used is the term state, you only need to give the answer without any elaboration. The structure that forms a C-shaped structure in the wall of the trachea is known as the cartilage. So therefore, the name is cartilage. Now, what is the function of cartilage in the trachea? The function of the cartilage in the trachea is actually to provide support to the trachea and therefore preventing the trachea from collapsing. This will ensure that the trachea is open and therefore allowing movement of air into and out of the lung. So therefore, the function would be to support the trachea and prevent the trachea from collapsing. Okay, next, let us look at question B3. Describe the effect on the thorax of contraction of the diaphragm. Now, where is the diaphragm? Let us refer back to the picture. Here we go. This is the diaphragm, right? So the diaphragm looks like this. It has a dome shape when it is relaxed. So when the diaphragm relaxes, the diaphragm has a dome shape. But when the diaphragm contracts, the diaphragm will move down, and now the diaphragm flattens. So this is what happened to the diaphragm when the diaphragm contracts. So when the diaphragm contracts, the diaphragm flattens. Now, try to look at the volume of the thorax. Thorax refers to the area between the neck and the abdomen. Now, what we can see from the diagram is that once the diaphragm flattens, the volume of the thorax increases. When the volume increases, the gas particles that is found in the thorax will be further away from each other, and therefore the pressure in the thorax will decrease. There is an increase in the volume, so it increases the volume of thorax, and at the same time decreases the pressure of thorax, or decreases the pressure in the thorax. Let us look at part C. Table 1.1 compares the composition of inspired and expired air. Inspired air refers to the air that we breathe in, while expired air refers to the air that we breathe out. Okay, so what you need to do is to complete the table by writing the names of gases B, C, and D. Now, which kind of gas forms 21% in inspired air, but only 16% in the expired air? The answer will be oxygen. Which kind of gas makes up 0.04% in the inspired air? And that would be carbon dioxide. And what kind of gas has variable percentage in inspired air, but they are saturated in the expired air? That would be the water vapor. Part C2. For gas B, oxygen, and gas C, carbon dioxide, explain the differences in the percentages shown in table 1.1 between inspired and expired air. Let us look at the differences in the percentage of these two types of gases. For gas B, oxygen, the air that we breathe in contains 21% of oxygen, but as we breathe out, the air only contains 16% of oxygen, which means that 5% of oxygen has been absorbed or has been taken into the body. For gas C, carbon dioxide, the air that we breathe in contains only 0.04% of carbon dioxide, while the air that we breathe out contains up to 4% of CO2 or carbon dioxide. So now, what you need to do is to explain the differences in these percentages. So what happened is that oxygen is needed in aerobic respiration. So therefore, the body has to absorb oxygen into the body, and these oxygen will be used in aerobic respiration by the cells. Now, on the other hand, carbon dioxide is a product of aerobic respiration. The body cells produces carbon dioxide during respiration, and these carbon dioxide will diffuse out of the cell into the blood, in which the blood will carry these carbon dioxide to the lungs. So how do we write out the answer? So first we said that aerobic respiration uses oxygen and produces carbon dioxide. Therefore, oxygen diffuses across the alveoli from the inspired air into the blood. And this oxygen will then be carried by the blood to the body tissues. Now, on the other hand, what happened to carbon dioxide at the gas exchange surface? Carbon dioxide diffuses across the alveoli out of the blood. In other words, carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the alveoli, and therefore, eventually, these carbon dioxide will be expired. So, that's how you answer this question.